There are stories that promise to explain everything, and then there are stories that dare you to look again. Tonight, we choose the second kind. This is Anunnaki secrets in ancient Egypt, the alien gods who made mankind. Between the loud neon myth of alien gods and the quiet handwriting of people who baked bread, a title the internet loves, and an investigation that belongs to history. Take a breath. Let the lights fall. Listen. Because if we do this right, the mystery won't die. It will sharpen. It will deepen. It will finally be ours. Part 1. The distance between a word and a world.
The word that haunts the algorithms is Anunnaki.
It tastes like thunder. It sounds like star metal. It arrives already famous. But fame is not meaning. Meaning is where a word was born.
Anunnaki belongs to the world of Mesopotamia, Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, Assyria, a landscape of reed boats and brick ramparts, of canals that cut the earth like sentences. In those traditions, Anunnaki, sometimes written Anunna, names a group of gods, children of the sky god An and the earth Ki. The list changes by period. The roles change with the story. In later texts, the name can even lean toward the underworld. Hold that boundary, because boundaries are where myths try to jump the fence. When we say Anunnaki, we are not speaking Egyptian. Not yet. And if we mix the languages, if we drag this Mesopotamian choir into Egypt and make them sing beneath the pyramids, we will miss the exact miracle that happened in both places. Different civilizations, standing under the same sky, inventing different ways to make sense of it. So, before we step onto the Nile, we owe a visit to the rivers that carved the word we're chasing. The city that invented consequence. Imagine a room that smells of clay and lamp smoke. A tablet still warm from the fire wears the triangular bite marks of a reed stylus. Outside in the noise of a marketplace, grain moves like a river through human hands. Temples rise. Walls blink in the heat. Mesopotamia does not merely have gods, it has a procedure for speaking about them. Lists, hymns, epic debates in which the divine council gathers and decides the temperature of reality. The Anunnaki belong here, in the grammar of councils and decrees, in the order that grows from naming things and ranking them. And in one of the region's most thunderous texts, a creation story spread across 7 tablets, a new alignment takes shape. It begins the way worlds do, with water, with darkness, with a fight. Enuma Elish. When on high is an origin myth that sounds like an army learning to sing. The sea of chaos heaves. Its name is Tiamat, The young champion of the order to come is Marduk. Weapons flash, winds whip the ocean into a prison. The defeated body of chaos becomes architecture. From the open wound of the world's first battle, order is born. The divine assembly meets. Destinies are fixed. A temple is named. Rituals bloom. Everything in the poem moves with a Mesopotamian gait, a rhythm of city, throne, ledger, decree. And when you hold those 7 tablets up to the light, you see what is not there. No Nile, no pyramids, no hieroglyphs, no pharaoh's cartouche, no Egyptian afterlife sailing on a solar bark beneath a goddess of stars. It is not a lack, it is a boundary. A beautiful, necessary, uncrossed line. The room where words became walls. Now, step west. The air cools, the torch flares, a chamber breathes its funerary hush and answers back in carved stone. These are the pyramid texts of Unas, the earliest surviving ritual corpus of Egypt. And if Mesopotamia built order, with assemblies and decrees, Egypt shaped eternity with images that were also sentences. Here the cosmos wears Egyptian names. Re, the daily rebirth of light. Osiris, the green secret of return. There are no Anunnaki here, not because Egypt lacked God, but because Egypt told a different story of the same sky. Nut, the jeweled arch of night, whose body receives and births the stars. The words do not float, they take shape. They line the burial chamber like rigging and sails. They face east and west and the star-studded ceiling, turning architecture into liturgy. If you listen long enough, you can hear the difference in the verbs. In Mesopotamia, gods sit, argue, decree. In Egypt, gods steer, rise, embrace, transform. 2 civilizations, 2 literatures, 2 grammars of wonder. And to confuse them is not just to be wrong. It is to rob each of what it uniquely achieved. Rumor versus routine. Rumor prefers miracles. Archaeology prefers logistics. The desert near the Sphinx holds the footprint of a city. A city with a job. Haid El Ghurab. More than 7 hectares of planned streets. Long gallery houses where teams slept shoulder to shoulder. Bakeries that breathed wheat into strength. Traces of canals and harbour works that fed the construction sites like arteries feeding a feverish heart. Trash heaps sing their careful music, pottery, butchered bone, ash, the archaeology of routine. Administrators moved rations like chess pieces. Foremen counted jars of beer and bundles of onions the way engineers count bolts. The pyramid is not a magic trick. It is a menu, a calendar, a payroll written in clay and sleeplessness. Stand above it at dawn and you can almost hear the roll call. Each mark they carved was a prayer, etched in sunlight, meant to last forever. In the audacity of a society that learned to convert food into architecture and time into monument. The Daybook of a river. And then, a miracle of a different kind. A voice on papyrus. Along the Red Sea coast, at Wadi al-Jaf, a bundle of brittle sheets survived long enough to be read. A man named Mera wrote a work diary, notes about a crew, a cargo, a route. He moves Tura limestone along the river toward a place called Akhet Khufu. Horizon of Khufu, he writes in the year 26 of Khufu's reign. He records days, distances, deliveries. There are many ways to claim a pyramid was built. Only one of them is to show your receipts. Picture it, a scribal hand, the creak of a boat line, the white flash of dressed stone. No superweapon, no Stargate, just the most dangerous technology of all, organization. And the more we look, the more the miracle reorganizes itself into something harder and more beautiful. Not a flash from beyond the sky, but a machine made of people, powered by bread and calendars, and the hunger of a culture to make its ideas heavy enough to outlast bone. Gravity versus glamour. But the internet does not live on bread alone. It lives on spectacle. Someone said there is a planet called Nibiru, swinging by every 3,600 years like a cosmic scythe. Someone said, Annunaki, ride that orbit, arrive on Earth, engineer us. A myth about myth. A modern reading that visits the ancient texts, takes what it wants and leaves the grammar on the floor. It is powerful. It is catchy. It is also unadmitted by the people who read cuneiform for a living and the people who map the sky with instruments that do not care about clicks. Because real wonder grows under pressure. Because mystery becomes music when it keeps time with facts. Who built the pyramids? The only answer that gets bigger when you prove it. There is a kind of suspense that doesn't need a villain. It needs a checklist. Food, water, stone, transport, workforce, scheduling, tools, alignment, finish. Each line looks small by itself. Together they are a wall of impossible until you put people next to them. Look again at Hit El Ghurab, those long barrack-like galleries where teams slept, the bakeries that mass-produced loaves, the workshops where copper tools were serviced, the administrative courts where ration jars were recorded, redistributed, and recorded again. See the canal-fed harbour cuts that invited boats right up to the work. Hear the clatter of animal bone in a rubbish trench, the clink of a beer jar's rim against a stone lip. Now lay the mirror diary over the city like an X-ray. His crew moves limestone from Tura. the fine white casing that made pyramids shine like frost at noon. They steer to Akhet Khufu, the horizon of a king who turned geometry into weather. They measure time in days, halts, loads, a vocabulary of fatigue that explains more than 1,000 theories could. That is the beating heart of the answer. Not who as in a visitor, who as in a system with a human face. The other kind of cosmos. If you stand in Una's burial chamber and look straight up, the ceiling gleams with stars. If you read a line aloud, you can taste the Nile in the verbs. The king becomes a falcon. He sails with rupees. He embraces Osiris. He rises on the smoke of incense and on the magic of names spoken in the right order. Egypt does not need the Anunnaki here. Egypt does not need anyone else's gods to make the sky move. And Mesopotamia, busy with its own ceremonies, does not need pyramids to prove the universe has a council. This is the gift of keeping traditions where they belong. Difference becomes a kind of clarity. Two cultures, two theologies, and two answers to the same human itch. To find a pattern that makes courage possible. A short course in honest suspense. Make a promise, keep the promise, raise the stakes, keep keeping the promise. That is how thrillers work. It is also how documentaries keep faith with their viewers. So here is our promise, the one we will keep from the first frame to the last. We will not shrink from rumor. We will stage it. We will speak it out loud so it cannot grin from the edges of the screen, and then, every time, we will seat it opposite the evidence and let them talk. Someone said, Nibiru comes like a metronome of doom and brings gods with tools. The evidence says the sky is full of wonders, and this one has no. Observation. No tablet, no inscription that puts Mesopotamian deities on the Nile. Someone said aliens were needed to raise Giza. The evidence says a city of workers, a daybook on papyrus, and a logistics web that hums like a hive. Someone said, history is too small to hold the myth. The evidence says, history is the only thing big enough to carry what actually happened. That is suspense you can trust. Not because you know the ending, but because the story respects the weight of proof. Why the truth hits harder. There is a scene you will not see in a rumor. A woman at dawn checks a clay oven and counts loaves. A supervisor tallies oil. A boy sets water jars along a wall and learns by watching how a team becomes a unit. The canal stirs. A boatman pushes off with his pole. A clerk smooths a papyrus and writes a date. Somewhere a foreman lays his palm on a block and decides it is ready. No mothership in the sky. No secret engine under the sand. Just the choreography of work. The most underrated special effect in history. If you film it right, with patience, with respect, with the courage to let silence speak, the ordinary becomes overwhelming, because the ordinary at this scale is not ordinary at all. It is civilization, remembering what it wants badly enough to build a mountain for it. And mountains, once built, have a way of training the horizon to be bolder.